everyone, and thank you for joining us for Aging Well. Feel your best at any age. My name is Natasha. I am the Marketing Manager and Virtual Events Coordinator here at Make It Better Media Group, and I will be helping to moderate today's event behind the scenes. If you have any technical questions, please feel free to reach out to me via the chat located on the right side of your screen. The chat is also where you can submit questions during the Q&A portion of our event. We look forward to hearing from you. Today, we are joined by Monica Gray, COO of Nice Guys Delivery, Melanie Perry, National Director for Memory Support and Resident Experience at Elegance Living, and Dr. Marisha Chilcott, founder and physician at Morpheus Medical Aesthetics. We are so grateful you all are here. We are also joined by Lotus Abrams, Managing Editor at Make It Better Media Group, who will be moderating the Q&A portion of the event. A big thank you as well to our sponsors, Morpheus Medical Aesthetics, Elegance Hamilton Hill, Valley Memorial Park, and Marin Healthcare Navigation. Morpheus Medical Aesthetics is a California med spa that's setting a standard for the entire medical aesthetics industry with an extraordinarily talented and well-trained staff. You can expect a comprehensive consultation that takes into consideration your individual needs, goals, and lifestyle. They consider every client interaction an opportunity to create or further develop a meaningful relationship. Elegance Hamilton Hill believes in a thoughtfully designed environment filled with good neighbors and a caring staff, along with nutritious food, accessible exercise programs, and opportunities to connect and engage every day by the right combination for optimal living. Valley Memorial Park believes in preserving long-standing traditions and customs, and in helping families make well-planned preparations in their time of need. Their caring and experienced professionals are here to guide you through the memorialization options available to you. Put your trust in them to provide a peaceful resting place and a personalized eternal memorial for your beloved family member. Finally, Marin Healthcare Navigation relies on not only on their expertise, but the knowledge and experience of medical professionals and other advocates, guiding you through the complexities of the healthcare system by supporting you through the challenges and time-consuming tasks you may face. As private navigators, their alliance is with you. And with all that, I'm now going to turn it over to Lotus, who will introduce our first speaker.
Hi there, I'm the managing editor at Marin Magazine, and I just wanted to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today for our Aging Well event. As I'm experiencing firsthand, along with everyone else, there's no way to stop the clock when it comes to aging, but that said, it can really be a positive experience, and we're lucky to have so many resources available to help us personally look and feel our best as we age, and also to help us care for our loved ones as they age as well. So our panelists here today represent some of the many resources available to us on that front. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first panelist. And we invite you to ask questions after their presentations conclude. This is our first panelist here is Monica Gray. And she is the COO of Nice Guys Delivery, which is a cannabis delivery business. And Monica grew up in Mill Valley, California, and she and her partner, Adam Fong, founded Nice Guys Delivery shortly after the birth of their first son. At that time, both of their fathers were diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and they saw firsthand how cannabis brings relief to people with illness. However, they struggled to find resources to help, which inspired them to launch their own cannabis delivery business. Monica received her bachelor's degree from UCLA, and prior to co-founding Nice Guys Delivery, she specialized in startup businesses. In her last role at Vionic Group, she was Senior Director of Product Development, overseeing the development, manufacturing, and costing departments. So Monica, welcome, and I will let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Lotus. That was a very, very awesome introduction. Thank you. And I wanted to start off by thanking the Make It Better Media Group for having me here today and allowing me to speak about this somewhat controversial plant. So as Lotus mentioned, my name is Monica Gray. I'm the COO and co-founder of Nice Guys Delivery. And I did grow up in Marin. I'm a TAM high school graduate, and I'm really excited to be here to be speaking about aging well with cannabis. Next slide, please. Our mission here at Nice Guys Delivery is to make sure we are educating and guiding our members about the validated benefits of cannabis for health. We also want to make sure that pain relief is accessible, affordable, and discreet while striving to offer each member an experience as unique as they are. Everybody's body's different. Everybody responds to things different. So I just want to really emphasize that we really take into consideration everybody's different systems and what they need, and specifically what they're looking for in consuming cannabis. Next slide, please. Here's a little bit about the founding of our company. As Lotus had mentioned previously, my husband and I incorporated Nice Guys Delivery in October of 2016 after our first son was born. It was literally the week after our son was born. And under Proposition 215, which allowed the medical sale of cannabis in the state of California. In November 2016, Proposition 64 passed, which was the bill to legalize recreational cannabis. We quickly grew to 2,000 members and now service over 20,000 members throughout Marin County. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is basically when Proposition 64 passed in November 2016, a whopping 75% voter turnout, and 57% said yes, 42% said no. And then in July 2018, we received our local license from the city of San Rafael, and we are located in San Rafael, California currently. Next slide, please. This is actually a little bit of an outdated map, but I just wanted to show you quickly the legalization of cannabis throughout the U.S. Right now, there are 5 states that have no legal program for cannabis, but in the dark green are legal for adult use and recreational use. The light green is legal for medical use only, which if you're 18 or older, you have to have a medical card that's either provided to you by the state of California or a medical practitioner. And then the mixed colors, the mixed green and light green, is status pending currently. But again, there's a couple states that are in the orange that are status pending that aren't listed here. Next slide, please. Now on to aging. As humans get older, and I can definitely relate, especially after the unprecedented year that we've had last year, and also having 2 young children and getting near my 40s, it becomes more difficult to sleep. We experience more anxiety because of life stresses, such as taking care of kids, parents, loved ones, financial stresses, and things begin to hurt. Your back, your hands because of arthritis. I have carpal tunnel syndrome from typing so much. Your knees, your shoulders, migraines. I also experience migraines. These 3 symptoms are what the cannabis industry, and also here at Nice Guys Delivery, we get the most phone calls about and the most inquiries about. People want help to assist with these issues and want to try something more natural. They want to not drink anymore or get off of opioids, and they're interested in consuming cannabis. Next slide, please. This slide is a bit intense, so I'm not going to really go over it, and it's kind of a little bit hard to see on the screen. I apologize. But after this presentation, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can send this over to you if you're curious about anything that's included in this presentation. This slide specifically explains about the endocannabinoid system that all of us have in our bodies, and how THC specifically affects your endocannabinoid system in your bodies when you're taking THC and cannabis products. Next slide, please. This slide is discussing the cannabinoids that are in the cannabis plant. Most people think that cannabis only gets you high, like you see in the movies. That high feeling comes specifically from the cannabinoid THC. There's also CBD, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. There's CBG, CBN, THCA, and CBDA, which are all non-psychoactive. So psychoactivity is that high feeling, and then non-psychoactive, you don't really, it depends on your level of how your endocannabinoid system affects or reacts towards the cannabinoid, but it's a variety of different feelings. Sometimes people say that taking CBD helps them relax. It helps them with anxiety. We also have the cannabinoid CBN, which is commonly used for insomnia. So these are all the different cannabinoids. And then all the way to the right and the bottom are the terpenes. So terpenes are similar to tannins in wine or tannins in beer, the different tastes and flavors. So all of these different cannabinoids are in the cannabis plant along with the different terpenes. And what these different plants are done, they're bred to actually have these different terpenes and effects, kind of like how the grapes are made for wine for different terpenes and different effects based off of the specific plant. Next slide, please. This is a brief explanation between the differences of sativa and indica, which we get a lot of questions about, which are strains specific to THC and that high feeling. So the high feeling can be different depending on what strain you take. Sativa is supposedly mind energizing. People take it during the day to, if they want to paint, if they're feeling like they want to go and listen to music. Indica is typically taken at night. It's mind relaxing. Sometimes it's been known to help people sleep. So these are the two different, and there's also hybrid, which is a combination between the two of them. Everybody has a specific taste, similar going back to tasting wine. Some people like a Chardonnay versus a Sauvignon Blanc. A red wine typically makes people relax. Sometimes people drink white wine during the day. So sativa indica is very specific on the individual, what they want to, what the use is, and what their specific type of mindset they want to be in. Next slide, please. Here are the different delivery methods of consuming cannabis. There's inhalation, which you can smoke out of a pipe, a pre-roll, roll it up, or take it. That specifically is a bong right there, but brings me back to college. There's also edibles that you can actually consume, varieties of jellies, of gummies, cookies. There's also drinks that are very popular right now. There's also sublinguals, which are tinctures, sprays, tabs, droppers. There's topicals, which are typically really used for pain relief when it comes to arthritis. We have a lot of patients that like to take topicals for arthritis, arthritic help and pain relief for your back. I know that we have a beautiful topical that I rub on my shoulders that really helps me. There's also transdermal. There's patches that you can actually put on you that will soak into your skin. That definitely helps with that, with pain relief. And there's also suppositories. So there's a variety of different delivery methods that are all specific for any individual needs. They also contain various combinations of cannabinoids, percentages, etc. For an example, we have edibles that have 50% THC and 50% CBD, or any variation of that. We also have sublinguals that have 20% CBN, 40% CBD, and 40% THC. It all depends on the specific effect you're trying to reach. The topicals are great for ailments, like I said, arthritis, back pain, etc. And they're not psychoactive. The topicals are. Next slide, please. Here are just a few products that we carry at Nice Guys. We have over 180 products to select from, which can be overwhelming. So we have an amazing customer service team available for any questions that you may have. Some of these products that I have there's a sublingual listed picture here. It's a tab that you put on your tongue that can be soaked through the tongue. It's kind of like a Listerine strip. There's edibles. Pre-roll is the Jerry Garcia brand that we carry. There's mints. And then I have a transdermal patch from Papa and Barkley and a lotion that's topical there. So next slide, please. So yeah, once again, please come visit us at niceguysdelivery.com, or you can give us a call at 415-855-5914. We are open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, and we deliver throughout Marin, all of Marin, and also North San Francisco, the Marina area, and also Petaluma. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Monica. That was really enlightening. I learned a lot, and also I can say that I can really relate to all the symptoms you described of aging. Can't sleep, anxiety, and various aches and pains. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'd love to introduce our next guest, Melanie Perry. And she is the National Director for Memory Support and Resident Experience at Elegance Living. Melanie has over 25 years of experience serving seniors and has expertise in creating programs for individuals living with dementia, as well as those in various elder care settings. Melanie is passionate about creating active, wellness-based life experiences, emphasizing person-directed care approaches. She's served on the Greater Indiana chapter of the Alzheimer's Association Board of Directors and is a past president of the Indiana Person-Directed Care Coalition. She was recognized in 2018 as one of 4 distinguished dementia educators through the NCCDP, and she has graduate degrees in psychology and mental health counseling. Melanie, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for that, Lotus, and thank you for allowing me to share some thoughts with you today in terms of techniques that we can apply to help us be the very best we can be as we all enter into and continue through the aging process. It's part of the human experience that we do go through an aging process, and as we do get to those age groups where we do start feeling some of the things that were being mentioned earlier, we just want to share with you some thoughts about how we can continue to be the very best that we can be, even as we progress through an aging process. So just to share with you, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide, please, a little bit of background of from where I'm approaching you. So the next one, please. Thank you. So I am, as was mentioned, I'm the National Director of Memory Support and Resident Experience with Elegance Living, and we do have approximately 40 communities in 14 states across the country. Several of them are represented and will be represented in the great state of California, and the one that we are really talking about today is Hamilton Hill, which opened fairly recently, and just wonderful, wonderful things going on. If you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide, we'd love to, share this beautiful community with you in a very historic building in Marin County, where we are offering a relaxed luxury lifestyle for those who may be seeking a very dynamic assisted living and or memory support lifestyle within this gorgeous, gorgeous community that was recently opened. So without further ado, I'd like to share with you some thoughts, if we wouldn't mind, please going on to the next slide, talking about why it is so important that we do continue to talk about the topic of aging well, particularly in this what we were hoping would be a post-pandemic world by this point, but as we see some resurgence of this dreaded and very cumbersome viral process, we know that it's more important that we do address our aging well process as we do continue through this pandemic process, because as we can see here, several surveys, including those collected by the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, have shown that there are some very significant ramifications for people who are going into their elder years or are in the midst of their elder years through the COVID process. So 31% of respondents reported symptoms of increased anxiety or depression, 13% increase in substance use to help mitigate perhaps some of those symptoms that were just mentioned, and then 26% reported stress-related symptoms, with 11% reporting serious thoughts of suicide. That's how significant some of these symptoms have been in some individuals as we have gone through this very, very serious pandemic process. If we look at the next slide, we will see that on elders, that research has linked the social isolation that has occurred out of necessity and out of infection control efforts for many individuals, that has linked that social isolation and loneliness to higher risks of a variety of physical and mental conditions, including high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, a weakened immune system, anxiety, depression, cognitive decline, the onset of Alzheimer's disease, and even an increase in death, as many of us are aware. So I don't want to say all of that to bring us down. I want us to look at the positive side of the aging process, but I wanted to mention these statistics just to let us know that even more so within the current pandemic and hopefully soon to be post-pandemic world, there are ramifications that remind us we have to take really wonderful care of ourselves as we do continue through our aging process. So how do we do that? If we look at the next slide, we can see that there are some realms of care within our own world that we need to be aware of so that we can continue our aging well process and that we can continue to age well throughout our lifespans. So we're going to be looking at 4 objectives of a well-being lifestyle and of an aging well lifestyle. Those realms that we're going to discuss will include self-care, making sure that we are maintaining meaning and purpose in our lives, making sure we're taking some time for recreation, and then certainly very important time for relaxation. As the world becomes ever more busy, it seems through social media, through the general media, we know that it seems like we are more aware of some of the stressors that are occurring throughout the world, within this country, and certainly within the great state of California. We want to be very aware that we need to take some time to just unplug and be away from some of those resources that may help us feel a little bit more on edge or experience some anxiety. So with that, then we're going to take each one of these objectives in turn and discuss them for just a moment for each of them. So the first objective is that objective of self-care. So with self-care, what we're talking about here are these things that help us to be the very best version of ourselves that we possibly can be, no matter what other complications or challenges we may be living with within our lives. So this is things, so in the field of elder care, we have something called ADLs, and those are our activities of daily living. So making sure those are our self-care efforts on the most basic level. So these are things simply from taking care of our own hygiene, making sure that we are getting up every day, that we are taking our showers, that we are caring for our hygienic needs. So from a very most basic level, if we were to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this would be that very, very basic level of being. But then also looking at things to keep our bodies in their peak condition. So things such as exercise and physical maintenance of ourselves, making sure that we're looking at our environment that's around us. This is part of our self-care as well. We want to make sure that we are in environments that give us joy, that provide for our well-being, rather than allowing ourselves to stay in an environment that has become dull or mundane or no longer stimulates us, or even worse, is something that doesn't speak to our well-being or who we are as people. We want to look for continuing learning opportunities. That's a part of our self-care realm of being, because our brains crave novelty. Our brains do better when we are providing them with novelty. Our spirits crave learning. So we want to make sure that we're looking at learning opportunities as part of the self-care realm as well. Work-life priorities. So many of us who are getting into our older years, so a little bit older than Monica, and she was mentioning I'm actually 54. And so as I'm looking in, probably the latter third of my professional career, I want to make sure that I am maintaining that work-life priority, as we all need to if we are continuing to work through our aging process. Our mental health efforts, we need to remember self-care is not just about our bodies and our physical and medical well-being, but also our mental aspects of ourselves as well. We want to make sure that our mental aspects and mental functioning is at its very peak condition as much as possible too, which means stimulation. And then looking for our spiritual pursuits. We can't forget to feed our souls as much as we would feed our bodies and our brains. We need to feed our souls. So our self-care activities are those things that maintain and enrich the person within, again, help us to be the very best version of ourselves that we possibly can be. So the second objective that we want to look at as we continue through an aging well process is making sure that we do maintain meaning and purpose within our lives. So this means that we don't allow ourselves to potentially retire, put our feet in the sand, and just be, because with that, yes, that might be nice in the short term, but in the long term, that may take away our edge, that may take away our mental edge, our physical edge, our spiritual edge, and we may find ourselves becoming less effective in our lives than we would be if we continue to have that meaning and purpose. Multiple studies tell us that if we feel like we are part of something larger than ourselves, that we do tend to see ourselves as happier, well, or be in a better state of wellness, pardon me, than people who are not engaged in something larger than themselves. So having meaning and purpose means that maybe we continue an occupation or a vocation into our aging years, even in an approximated fashion. Maybe we're going to consult rather than be a full-time team member. Maybe we're going to teach something that we've known or that we've done over the years. So maybe it can take the form of a job. Maybe we're going to teach or nurture others. Volunteering could be a very important aspect of this, nurturing others. I can tell you that I have a next door neighbor, and she is in her retirement years, but she yet maintains a job caring for preschoolers in a local preschool, and it allows her to give back to that love of children as part of her second career, if you will. And then just looking at those efforts that have an influence on that are, again, larger than oneself. So this is ensuring that that we have this position in society that does bring with it expected responsibilities and privileges. Again, it gives us that purpose, that meaning. It helps us to feel that we are still contributing to the world, other than just being in ourselves. So and again, the research tells us if we do have this purpose and meaning, we do tend to feel happier in our lives than if we don't have this purpose and meaning. So the third objective then that we're going to be discussing is that regarding recreation. So recreation is, as you can see here, it's the definition. It's a set of purposeful actions or behaviors that contribute to the overall performance of a chosen task. So they do require some skills and proficiencies. So this is how this differs from relaxation, because what we're doing is we are actually trying to work at potentially either maintain a certain skill level or perhaps improve upon a skill level, but still doing it in a fashion that brings us enjoyment. So these are things such as our hobbies that we may engage in. Certain pastimes, sports, potentially having fun again, but in a potentially a competitive way that allows us to be a little bit better than that person beside us in a fun way, so that we can have that competition, and that brings with it that desire and motivation to continue to improve our skills in that area. And then certainly social interactions or social clubs. As mentioned, I'm 54 years old, but I am a very active part of a local cycling club here in the Indianapolis area where I am currently living. And I know throughout California that there are certainly many social clubs and cycling clubs as well. So some of you may be engaging in something like that. I strive to get better. Even though I'm getting older each year, I still strive to look at those statistics that I follow regarding my cycling to continue to improve that. That's a form of recreation. It brings people joy. It brings us, again, that sense of continuing to improve and be the very best that we can be, even though we may be continuing through our aging process. And then the fourth objective that we're going to talk about is that of relaxation. We can't be so involved with taking care of ourselves, with looking at our recreational pursuits and staying so busy with those, even though they might be fun, with looking at that having purpose and maybe continuing to work and nurture others, that we forget that we do need that time on occasion to truly recenter and have that time just to be. So with relaxation, it's that time that is truly free of expectations and responsibilities, and it gives us that sense of recentering, rejuvenation, and just that sense of well-being. So things that fall under the category of relaxation, maybe things, whatever it may be for you, it's totally individualized, but gardening, potentially for many people, reading, mindful meditation, musical enjoyment. Oh, music can be such a wonderful sense of relaxation for many people. Enjoying social experiences where we're just enjoying our friends and family and others in the world around us. And as I mentioned, mindful meditation, that spiritual facet where we really do take that time to recenter ourselves and potentially commune with a higher being or with nature or the universe, that brings us that sense of relaxation and recentering. It's those types of things that allow us literally to breathe easier, that may help our respiration rates to decrease a little bit and help our blood pressure maybe even to come down to a lower level when we're in these states. That truly tells us that we're in that state of relaxation, and truly can be so rejuvenating to mind, body, and spirit as we do engage in these objectives. So I'd like to point out, when we were talking about about these 4 objectives, these are things that we can do when we are still living in our communities, in our own homes. But in the previous 3 slides, what we showed to you were actually pictures of individuals who are in actually at our staying within our community at Hamilton Hill. I took some of those from our social media posts related to Elegance at Hamilton Hill to share with you that no matter where you are in the aging process, no matter in what environment you are living, you should have those expectations of having these realms of wellness nurtured within you and giving you these opportunities. And you should be advocating for these opportunities to continue through that aging well process. So as mentioned, the pictures in the previous 3 slides were from social media, from Elegance of Hamilton Hill, people engaging in some of these wonderful social experiences of recreation, self-care, our relaxation, and really going through all 4 of these realms that I just mentioned to you. So within our well-being philosophy through Elegance Living, and specifically at Elegance at Hamilton Hill, per our discussion today, it is based on that belief, that we want to provide thoughtfully designed environments, that we are supporting connection between neighbors and our team members, that we are providing opportunities to learn, to exercise, to have that nutritional wellness as part of who we are, to keep our bodies healthy. That strong sense of purpose, as we mentioned, purposeful, meaningful domain as well that we just talked about, and really making sure that we are supporting the aging process in a very meaningful way for the people that we are serving within our community. So we just wanted to make sure that you don't feel that it doesn't matter where you are in your aging process, either in terms of where you are in that age journey, or where you are environmentally, where your home may be, or where you may lie your head at night. These things can still happen whether you're in your own home or in a care venue or a living environment such as Elegance at Hamilton Hill. So with this final slide, then, really what we want to talk about is, look for these opportunities wherever you may be, to look for instance, at Elegance at Hamilton Hill, we do provide these daily curated opportunities to socialize, roles to give back to the greater world. So whether that be giving back to, projects where we're giving back to children, where we're creating items for the local animal shelters, for doing things that really give back to the community, volunteer opportunities, we provide those within Elegance of Hamilton Hill. But again, if you are in your own home and watching this discussion, look for those things that you can do to give back in your own world. At Elegance at Hamilton Hill, music is such a very, very large part of our offerings and our experiences, because again, we know that speaks to so many of those realms that we just discussed in such a meaningful way. And we actually have a shared campus amphitheater in which we can present these opportunities. Physical fitness, we do that a minimum of twice daily within our communities. So we would certainly, and at Hamilton Hill, so we would certainly encourage you, if you're still living at home and watching this discussion, that you do look for these opportunities, for the physical opportunities, because that our physical experiences, not only do they help keep our bodies at peak performance, they also speak very often to the spiritual side of our lives, and may also help our mental well-being and our affective or mood states through the release of endorphins and those feel-good chemicals in our brains. And then finally, really making sure through self-care, through learning, through continuing to develop as human beings throughout our aging process. At Elegance at Hamilton Hill, we have experiences such as art lectures and a speaker series by the Marin Museum of Contemporary Art, providing continued learning experiences for the residents that are living within Elegance of Hamilton Hill. So once again, I would provide you with examples of these from our standpoint of Elegance Living, some of the things that we're offering to the elders and residents that we serve within our communities, but also just to provide you with some ideas about, if you are not living within a community, that you may do to make sure that those 4 domains that we've just mentioned are being nurtured within you, to make sure that you are continuing to age well through your aging process as in a positive fashion as possible. So we just wanted to share that with you. I look forward to any questions you may have as we do complete these talks. But more so, I would just like to thank you so much for your time and your attention today. And I hope that we've provided you with some thoughts that will help you to continue well through your aging process. Thank you so much, and please be well.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I think you really had some insightful words to say about how important it is to continue to seek enriching experiences as we age. It's never never too late to find new activities and make new community connections. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce our next panelist. This is Dr. Marisha Chilcott, who's the founder and physician at Morpheus Medical Aesthetics. And Marisha is a board-certified family physician who found her passion for medical aesthetics after practicing as a physician for a number of years. So she earned her bachelor's degree in mathematics from UC Berkeley and later earned her medical degree from UC Davis School of Medicine. And after completing her family practice residency at Contra Costa Regional Medical Center, she worked there as an ER physician for 6 years. Following that, she joined her father outlaw, Dr. F. Scott Chilcott, in private family practice in Santa Rosa, and worked with him until he retired in 2013. But during that time, she founded Morpheus Medical Aesthetics in 2009. And since 2014, she's focused primarily on performing aesthetic procedures and coaching her clients on leading healthy lives. So Marisha, we'd love to hear more about what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Lotus. It's like a lot of stuff about me. And then I was going to actually tell you a couple more things. But if we could just start with my first slide, I want to just say hello to my team. Oh, am I doing the slide? Nope. Yay! So that's most of my team, all in a big hug. We have 2 offices, one in Santa Rosa and one in Larkspur. And one of the most fun things about working with this group of women is that we actually have a lot of fun working with each other. And we have a fundamental set of mottos that first and foremost includes the idea that if you feel good about how you look, you will then be a better person in your community. And so our mottos kind of help guide us. We say, look good, feel good, do good. Grab the next slide. I have a couple of thoughts on aging that I want to share. I feel like these are public service announcements. And first is, although I'm in an industry that often sounds like it is fighting aging, I'm not fighting aging. I am a firm believer that aging is a privilege and it's not granted to everyone. I lost my sister-in-law a couple months ago. She's younger than me. She was only 52. And I think often, man, Karina doesn't get to age. So I want us to all take advantage of what has been a medically proven fact that birthdays are good for us. The more we have, the longer we live. Let's go to our next slide. So just a little bit, as I was mentioned in my bio, I'm trained in family medicine and I worked in the ER. And so that means I bring to the perspective for my staff as I lead them and for our offices in general, an awareness that what matters most is our physical well-being and health, and that gets reflected then in aesthetics. I shifted into aesthetics initially, to be super blunt, because I couldn't make a living as a family doctor in private practice. I was working with my father outlaw, who is kind of a great Norman Rockwell style doc who took care of people from cradle to grave, as he used to say. But we, in private practice, which is to say where insurance companies will not negotiate with you unless you are bigger than 10 doctors, it's really hard to do more than keep the lights on. So I got into aesthetics and then kind of moved over when I found that aesthetics actually provided me with what I loved most about family medicine, and that is relationships. We say to people when we first meet them at Morpheus, you know, this is the start of a long-term relationship. So it's just the first date, but we intend to stay in your life. And what we love about it, what I love about it, and I know actually all my staff love about it, is that it gives us the opportunity to help people feel really good about themselves. So along those lines, let's go to our next slide. I loved that there were 4 objectives to well-being lifestyle in our last presentation, because I say that there are 4 legs that we need to sit on the stool to be our best selves. And that includes first, physical fitness, activity. And this is going to be a little bit of the same thing. So we're going to reinforce the same message. Healthy food and lifestyle issues that are, you know, picking things that are good for us to eat, you know, sourced from nice organic farms and clean water and so forth. And then a third part of the stool was also mentioned in the last presentation, which is about human connection. And that is really manifest in our community and spiritual connections. And then the fourth one, which is kind of my business, is about taking care of our appearance. It's really easy to think of aesthetics as something vacuous or vanity-based, but it's really about self-esteem. And just like we like to dress nicely and get our hair cut and shave in the morning, this is aesthetics is a further advance of all of those capabilities that we have with our new in our new world. I'll take our next slide. This is just a quick one talking about loving who looks back at ourselves in the mirror. I really say it's not vanity, it is self-esteem. And along those human connections, I want to mention that sexuality is part of our health. And as a family doctor, it was one of my greatest privileges to really emphasize my practice in geriatrics. So although I was trained in family medicine and I delivered a lot of babies, my private practice focus was on people over the age of 85. So I took care of lots of folks who lived in beautiful facilities like Elegance, or lived in their own homes, or lived with other family members. And one of the good lessons as a younger physician was to be reminded that we want to have deep human connection always, and sex is part of that. And too often it's overlooked by doctors as we age. And we have this notion that people stop having sex when they like turn 55 or something. And as someone who is at that age, I'm going to tell you, I'm pleased to say sexuality is still part of my life. So I'm going to talk a bit about that. And that's kind of where we're going to branch into things here. Let's go to the next slide, because urinary function is also something that we have a hard time talking about with our physicians. And it's kind of closely related to sexual function, mostly because of the geography, which is it's the same parts of our body, right? Incontinence can be a really unspoken life quality detractor. I know lots of women and men wear pads and discreet diapers and things because they have not found a solution to address what can be a just socially horrible problem. Male incontinence is typically related to what's called overflow incontinence, and that is most commonly related to BPH or benign prostatic hypertrophy. As men age, the prostate is a gland that surrounds the urethra that tends to get bigger. As the prostate gets bigger, I'm just going to do a little drawing. So the urethra, which comes out of the bladder, this is my pen is the urethra here. There's the bladder. The tube that comes out that then goes out to the end of the penis is called the urethra. And around the urethra at the top, near where the bladder sits, is the prostate. And it's a organ that goes around that tube that provides lubrication for sperm during ejaculation. And when it enlarges, the inside, kind of like if a donut gets bigger or a bagel gets bigger, the hole in the center gets smaller. And that compresses then the urethra. As a result, it's difficult often to urinate or empty the bladder completely. So with BPH, what happens is there's kind of a constant low level amount of urine, and then the bladder ends up being a little bit overflowing and having to cause you to urinate more frequently. Typically, guys with BPH will tell me that they have to get up 3 or 4 times at night to go to the bathroom. We'll talk about some solutions shortly. Prostate cancer, distinct from benign prostate hypertrophy, is treated often with surgery or other invasive mechanisms that then have as a sequela or side effect nerve damage that then causes problems with continence following that. So typically people say, well, I'd rather be alive than have dry pants, but there still are other solutions. Bladder diverticula is a very rare condition, but it can cause the bladder to be fuller than it knows how to manage, and again, causes a type of overflow. Incontinence. For women, female incontinence tends to come in two categories, and the third category is actually a combination of the other two. So I describe these as the difference between urge incontinence, which is also an overactive bladder, where the bladder muscle, the detrusor muscle, which is that of the bladder walls themselves, are very strong and they can spasm. And they go like this. And that overwhelms the small sphincter muscle of the urethra, causing women sometimes to lose some part of your bladder or sometimes even your whole bladder, just as you're trying to get the key in the door and you can't quite make it. So urge incontinence is manifest by the feeling like you've got to go to the bathroom and you have to go to the bathroom right now, or as soon as you have the signal, you have very little opportunity between the first sensation that you need to urinate to when it's an absolute emergency. This is in contrast to stress urinary incontinence, or SUI. Stress urinary incontinence is common in actually women of all ages if they've ever had children. So vaginal delivery, vaginal childbirth is implicated, or at least closely associated with stress urinary incontinence, and that is the state of having the inability to hold the bit of urine if your bladder is full and you sneeze or you cough or you try to do jumping jacks. And it's not that you can't hold your urine once you know you have to pee. It's just that you can't hold it if something causes a sudden intra-abdominal pressure. So as we call it a valsalva, or a sudden increase in pressure, like a sneeze. Mixed incontinence means you have a little bit or a lot of both. And it's kind of a punting type of doctor's diagnosis. One of my favorite diagnoses, I say that tongue in cheek, is when someone says idiopathic. They've got idiopathic urinary incontinence or idiopathic gastritis. And someone once told me that idiopathic means that your doctor's an idiot and the patient is pathetic. But what it really means is that we can't figure out why you have something. It doesn't mean there isn't a good reason. It just means we don't know why you have it. So let's talk a little. Yep, thank you. Woo, she's on me. Urge incontinence and overactive bladder. What can you do? The most common solution that is advised of women is to start some Kegel exercises. And Kegel exercises look like this. Can you tell? I'm doing one right now. They're where you squeeze the muscle in your pelvis as if you're trying to stop the urine from flowing. And you do those repeatedly. And the doctor says, try to do them, 10 times a day, and you'll get stronger. Or they'll tell you things. I used to tell patients, do them at every red light if you're driving, and they kind of suck, because no matter how many you do, it doesn't feel like, in my personal experience, that you ever get really fantastic control. At this point, I'm going to actually give a shout out to a colleague in Marin in San Rafael. This is Marin Medical Aesthetics in San Rafael. They have a machine called an EMSELLA, E-M-S-E-L-L-A. I don't have it on my slide, I'm sorry. But it is a machine where you can sit on it and it will do something like, I'm making these numbers up, but 10 to 20,000 Kegels in like a minute. Well, maybe not a minute, but you sit on it for about 30 minutes and it is a much more effective way to get that pelvic floor stronger. It actually helps with men too. We'll come back to that. And then the other thing that works incredibly well is Botox. And I know you're thinking, I know she's an aesthetics doctor, but I don't know about this Botox stuff. Good news, I don't do it. Botox is administered into the bladder directly via a camera that your urologist, not your aesthetics doctor, inserts into the urethra and then into the bladder. And this works for both men or women. It works really well for any kind of bladder spasm. It is covered by Medicare and almost all other third-party insurances. And it's not that uncomfortable to have done. I know, because I get mine done every 4 months, and it works really, really well. So it's not commonly known. Even your primary care doctor may not be aware of it. So if this is something that you have, I strongly recommend that you ask your, I'm like one of those TV shows, ask your doctor about Botox. I'm not going to do the really fast blurb about all the possible side effects and horrible things that can happen. I'll let somebody else do that. There are some potential side effects like urinary retention. So you have to, it's not a automatic, everybody does great, but it's a really, really high percentage. And it's a game changer, at least for me. And I do really recommend it to my patients who complain about these difficulties, and or go to Dr. Bocci at Marin Medical Aesthetics and do the Kegels on her special chair. I'll take my next slide. Stress urinary continence. I provided you with a really graphic picture here because I wanted to wake everybody up. That's a vagina and a uterus and a bladder. And the purpose of this is to demonstrate, I actually have my pictures backwards. The upper is the after and the lower is before. But I can't use a pointer because you guys can't see where I'm pointing. Let's see if I go like this. Stress urinary incontinence is traditionally treated by primary care doctors with drugs. Basically, and I used to do this too as a primary care doctor, I would tease my patients, look, you're going to take this medication and you can have dry pants, but it's going to give you a dry mouth. So you get to choose. You can have dry pants with dry mouth, or you can have wet pants and wet mouth, because all of the medications are some form of what's called an anticholinergic. And they all have the side effect of causing intense dry mouth and therefore also dry eyes. And that's actually, the dryness is not actually why you have better bladder control. It's actually the anticholinergic makes the bladder not squeeze as hard. So so that was it. You could do drugs, or you could go to the urologist and have a surgery, or a urogynecologist, and they would do what was called a bladder sling. But if you didn't really want to have an abdominal surgery and be out for 6 weeks, and you didn't want to take medications, until recently there was nothing good, and now there is. So the core Intima laser and also the Mona Lisa, they're two different brands of lasers. They are both the same technology, though. At my offices, we happen to have it's called the Candela Core Intima. Several gynecologists in Sonoma County, and I assume probably in Marin County too, have the Mona Lisa. But these are lasers that are administered to the inside of the vagina wall, and it causes the vaginal wall to thicken with new rejuvenated tissue, and also causes the space between the anterior vagina and the bladder to thicken and strengthen. And it works really miraculously. So one of the quote side effects is that you get better sexual function and better vaginal lubrication. So it's not a bad, it kind of goes along with that human connection. Next slide. In clinical trials, people love it. So 100% reported satisfaction. I'm supposed to hurry up. I talk too much. Sorry. Basically, it does not hurt. 96% of people report either no or only very mild discomfort. If anyone is on Instagram and wants to follow us, there's a video of me getting it live. And there's one moment where I feel it a little bit, just a titillator. Next slide. prostate-related male incontinence. So I kind of went over the types between BPH and prostate cancer nerve problems. The standard medications for BPH are finasteride, tamsulosin. Those are like Flomax or I'm forgetting what finasteride is called, brand name. In any case, and there are surgical treatments. If someone has surgical intervention, they will end up with some incontinence almost certainly, because it's very similar to the surgical treatment that people get for prostate cancer. And if that's the case, they can be treated with Kegels using the EMSLA, again, Dr. Bacci, and then also PRP injections are of great interest. So what the heck are PRP injections? Let's go to that next slide. So PRP stands for platelet-rich plasma. Basically, we as in the physicians or the doctor's office, take blood out of your arm, put it into a centrifuge it down, separate out the red blood cells and white cells to the bottom, and then their platelets are in the yellow serum on top. Then we extract that out of the test tube and inject that places. You got to be kidding. No, they've actually been doing this in horses for a decade. Take the next slide. So PRP is used aesthetically for making your hair grow. It makes your face look prettier. And there are applications for sexual function and urinary function improvement. So there's a doctor, I think he's in either the Midwest or Southern California, who has patented the name O-Shot and patented the name P-Shot. I'm showing pictures of his websites because I am not an authorized person to use that brand name of describing what the service is, but PRP injected around the vagina and then into the penis itself can dramatically improve both sexual function as well as urinary function. PRP, incidentally, is FDA approved for use for some orthopedic services, specifically in the shoulder. And I feel like I've got like the flashy light of like, I should stop. So if there are any questions, our website is morpheusmedspa.com. Thank you. I'm happy to field questions if we have time through the chat, and call for a consultation. We'll talk to you about your individual needs. Thanks so much. Thank you. Sorry. I love talking about this stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, you really, it was important information, and you really, it meant a lot to bring sexual health and incontinence into the conversation of aging. So thank you for that. We have just a few moments for questions here, and there are a couple that have come in through the chat. For Monica, there are a lot of people looking for recommendations for specific formulations for Parkinson's, topical products, sleep products. What are some of your best-selling products that you have?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on, I just wanted to put this out there. It really depends on your specific tolerance. I don't want to recommend something specifically without knowing somebody's background in consuming cannabis. I really want to stress that, because it really depends on if you are a regular user, if you haven't smoked anything since high school, if you ate a brownie in college. I mean, that it really depends on what your tolerance is, if you want to only take a CBD product. So the best thing to do is to contact our team directly, visit our website. We've got a lot of information on our website. Some of our best-selling products, we really excel in flower, actually. So the actual raw flour, we're not allowed to call it organic, but honestly, it's more organic than baby food. The testing that goes involved in all of our cannabis products is extreme. It's regulated by the state. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact our office. You can give us a call, 415-855-5914, or you can email us at hello@niceguysdelivery.com, and we'd be happy to provide you with a consultation and anything that you're looking to get.
Yeah, I think the consultation is key. You really,
it is.
Have such individual needs. So that's
100%
helpful that you provide that service.
Yeah.
I also got a question here for Melanie about, can you recommend any books for improving mental health and self-care?
Oh boy, that's a great question. Offhand, yeah, I can't think of any that come to mind, but if you just Google that topic, there are a wide variety of great resources that are out there these days. And then if you Google a topic of domains of wellness, you will also see a discussion of not only those areas that I talked about, but even drilling down further on some more specific areas that one may want to nurture within their lives, to really make sure very, very specific areas to look at and really make sure. So I would just, again, go ahead and Google those areas, and then Google dimensions or domains of wellness, and that will also give you some resources to help you drill down even further on those areas of nurturance within us.
Right, and if you're looking to vet, you know, I mean, many of us have elderly relatives, and we're looking for where they should live. What is your recommendations for vetting, for vetting a facility?
Yeah, so the recommendation I would have would be to do your research. So look for those communities that meet the lifestyle that you are seeking. So there are some communities that are maybe a specific area or a niche that they're serving. So for instance, where Elegance is in the process of developing a community in the Berkeley area, and for that one, knowing the more erudite and information seeking people that live in that area, we're going to be having, just a numerous amount of offerings for things related to continual learning and seeking of new information about life. And at Hamilton Hill, we're in this historic area, and we have this well-rounded experience related to those domains that I just mentioned. So do your research, really look at the websites, look at the type of lifestyle that they're offering, and then go and visit. That's the most important thing. Go and visit communities that you may be considering. And then those that feel right to you, that tend to match your energy level, of things that you're seeking in terms of what it is that you're looking for out of a lifestyle, is very important. And then also, depending on what assistance you may be looking for. So assisted living, maybe you're looking for some assistance, maybe you're looking for some socialization, some an active lifestyle, maybe some care of some specific areas. But then again, such as the example with Elegance at Hamilton Hill, we also have a memory support neighborhood for individuals who want to be the very best that they can be, even though they may also be living with a diagnosis of some form of a dementia process going on. So I would just say, do your research, and visit and ask questions, and then you will find that particular community that is a great fit for you and what you're seeking from your life.
Can I make a quick comment about that? So one of the things that I think that patients really need to do, or folks need to do in doing their research, is not just talk to the staff at any facility, but actually ask to speak to the family members of people who are already living there.
And if you can't speak to a family member, then reviews are a great way as well. Yeah.
But having good conversation is important. And then also making sure, if you're moving anyone from a long ways away, to find out where the medical resources are. Because say if you live in Marin and you're bringing your mom, you need to be able to find a primary care doctor who's going to be able to write the orders and look after someone in the new facility. And that can be a bigger challenge than people expect.
Right. And then also ask what providers are available through the community as well. Yeah. And then research those individuals to make sure you feel comfortable with that as well.
And Marisha, I'm sure a lot of people, now are thinking that maybe perhaps they'd like to get some more information about some of the topics that you talked about. If someone, say, wants to learn more about incontinence, what are some of the resources you recommend for people to get more information on those topics?
So we have pretty good stuff on our website. And so if you can go to morpheusmedspa.com, and it's under women's health, I think. I don't have as much on men's health on our website. The use of PRP, for example, is something that is not yet FDA approved. And so you have to kind of read with a critical eye. So be a little bit leery. That said, it's been used extensively as by kind of more functional medicine doctors, and it has great effect. That, and So the brand name O-Shot and brand name P-Shot. So if you Google O-Shot or Google P-Shot, those physicians have a lot of references, as well as some good videos that I enjoyed.
That's great. Yeah,
And then Lotus, if I could jump in as well, thinking about the question about the book title. So again, a book title specifically, but if an individual who asked that question would like to look at resource related to the Mather Institute studies, also a huge body of work through the Mather Institute on the topic that we just discussed.
terrific. I think that research is clearly what we all need to do. In person and online. There's just so much to learn about. So I think we've only really scratched the surface here, but you've all provided so much information. So thank you so much. We appreciate all your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, that is all the time we have today. We're so grateful that you were all able to join us. Thanks again to Monica, Melanie, and Dr. Chilcott, and of course Lotus, for making this a special event. And a big thank you to everyone that attended and participated in our discussion. We would love to stay connected with you, so please subscribe to our Better letter and follow us on our social media accounts. We'll be sending out a recording of this event soon, along with the resources you need to stay connected with us. And if you're watching us as a recording on YouTube, please subscribe. We upload new content regularly. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend.